Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music and Technology. Today, this week, we're talking about the mixer. This is the first part of two. And today we're going to be talking about the channel strip, the bus, effects, and inserts. Both in an analog mixer as well as on the digital side. As always, folks, you can find this slide presentation on our Google Classroom if you wish to go through it at your own pace. Let's begin. So, in our previous lessons, we took a look at all of these things. Last week, we really dove deep into the MIDI, okay, musical instrument digital interface. And this week, we're talking about the mixer. So let's begin. The channel strip. What is a channel strip? Well, on a mixing board, it is modular, okay, so it can move, and it's in pieces, which means that if you learn how to use one of the strips, you are able then to use all of the strips because the process is modular. It goes from one strip to the next. The process doesn't change. Okay, mixing board is typically based on a vertical, okay, an up and down configuration. Remember, sound travels through the mixing board from the top all the way down through to the bottom of the channel fader and then out. Okay. This is really important to know, the correct order for the signal flow in a mixing board. We start at the input trimmer at the top, we go to inserts, pre-fade, sends, track fader, and then post-fader sends. Let's take a look. So here's our analog mixing board. We call it analog because every single channel has an EQ, adjustment knobs, every single channel has gain, and every single channel has the sends as well. Okay, this is your typical analog mixing board where every channel has each part. Okay, and just so you're aware, this is a channel. Every time you see a fader and you go up from that fader, that is one channel. So let's take a look at the channel specifics in a little more in depth here. So at the top of our channel, we have our inputs, okay? These are where the audio sources are connected. These can be anything from a line level signal, such as from a keyboard, a piano, to microphones. Usually, you'll have both a 1/4-inch jack input, okay, a line input here, and an XLR input here for a microphone. Below that, you're going to find your inserts, okay? The insert is a connection that allows a piece of equipment to be plugged in directly after the input, so that it is unaffected by any of the other processes further down the channel. Okay, the most common use for an insert is connecting a compressor or a gate. Now, in our digital mixing board at the school, okay, we have our compressor and gate already built into our mixer. So we do not see a lot of these inserts, but we do have a couple of insert slots for each channel to add extra pieces of technology. Below that, you're going to have your trim or your gain levels. Okay, gain controls the input level of each individual channel. Here, you can set this so that individual sound sources do not cause the channel to overload or distort. Remember, you don't want to get into the red. You don't want to clip that channel. Below that, you have your EQ knobs. Okay, your EQ levels, the equalizer levels, and these allow you to change the frequency of the sound coming in and going out. Okay, if a sound source is very bright, so it's got a lot of higher frequencies, higher tones, okay, you can actually turn these down. A 3-band EQ, which we see here, okay, we have the high, mid, and low, the 3 different bands, will allow you to boost or cut the high, mids, and low frequencies separately. And you can do this also on a digital mixing board as well as in your DAW. Below the equalizer, you will have 3 auxiliary send knobs. Okay, these can be used for many, many different things. Okay, turning one of these sends up will adjust the level of the channel signal. It's very similar to the gain. Okay, and it will actually change the level of the signal, the channel signal that is sent to the output. Okay, 4 more parts, excuse me. We've got the pan knobs here, okay? Pan is short for panorama. This controls the whereabouts in the stereo field where the sound is going to be heard, either from the left or from the right. Okay. We have our mute buttons. These allow the sound engineer to mute individual channels, okay, so that they are not being recorded, so that the sound input and outputs are completely muted, completely silenced. We have our channel faders. These control the level of each channel to be sent to the outputs. And we have our master faders that control all signal levels at the same time. So, our channel strip. Like we said, we've got the trim, the aux sense, the EQ, the pan or panorama, okay, the mute buttons, the volume faders, as well as the master faders. Remember, keep things in the green, peak at the yellow, okay, but don't go anywhere near the red. You don't want to blow out your instruments, your speakers, your monitors, okay, or your ears. So in our digital DAWs, our digital audio workstation, okay, we have our digital channel strip, and it's set up very much the same, okay, where we have our input devices, okay, our microphone, our gain level, our EQ, our different inputs. We have our audio effects, which we're going to talk about. Where is the sound going? Okay, our send signals. Okay, we have our pan here. And we have our faders, our channel faders. Okay, and we have the name of our channel. Okay, and over here, we have our master fader that controls the input levels for all the different faders. So, what is a bus? Okay, a bus is not a physical bus that we get on, but it's a bus inside of our system, and it is a place to collect and route different sounds within your computer and DAW. It can combine and add different streams of audio to send a signal to a single location. So when adding different things together, different audio tracks together, you're going to need a bus so that you can control all of those audio tracks at the same time. And we call these sub-mixes, which we'll talk about next week. So for example, okay, you may have different sounds of your drum kit. When you set up the microphones for your drum kit, you're going to have one on your snare drum, on your hi-hat, on the bass drum, on maybe the large tom, as well as you're going to have two overhead microphones picking up the ambient sounds. And you're going to have a channel, okay, for each of those microphones. And you want to be able to control the sound and the effects for all those channels at the same time. In order to do that, you're going to create a bus to be able to control and send all of those different signals, to those channels through one specific way of doing things. In your DAW, you can manage the buses on your own. Okay, some are created by the user, others are created on their own. Okay, buses allow us to combine the outputs of many different tracks. Just like I said, you may have 3 different tracks that are allocated and associated to your drum kit, but you want to send them to one single bus. Okay, track inputs can receive signals from a bus, and track send the signals to a bus. So, effects. Effects, you'll see, they're called effects categories, but in your DAW and typically on your analog mixing board, you'll see them just simply as FX to save space rather than writing out effects. There are 3 different categories of effects. They're called DSP, digital signal processing sounds. Okay, we have dynamic effects that relate to amplitude, to the volume. We have delay effects that relate to propagation. Okay, they add slight delays to the signal, which represents the space that you're in, right? So you may want a sound, if you're recording in your home, you may want to add delay effects so that the sound that you're getting through your monitors and that you're recording, okay, makes it seem like you're in a very large hall. And you can also include filter effects as well that control the quality or the color of the sound, the timbre of the sound. Okay, and these effects in our DAWs can be found as plugins. Okay, and there's different types of effects. There's filters, there's EQ, there's dynamic effects, there's delay effects. There's also audio units where you can choose different instrument effects, such as synthesizers, to change the quality of your sound as it leaves your computer and goes through your monitors. We also have inserts. So on an analog mixing board, okay, with all the knobs and everything, we can control different external effects where you have inserts that are plugged directly into your analog mixing board, such as an equalizer or a compressor that are separate from your mixing board. However, in this day and age of digital mixing boards and DAWs, these inserts can be added with a simple click of a button. Okay, it is very common to have your dynamic and your filter effects as inserts in a track. Okay, these are then processed one by one. So I will show you, but in your DAW, when you add inserts, whatever the top insert is, or depending on your DAW, it might go from left to right. So whatever either your top insert or your most left insert is, that is where the sound is going to travel into first. And then however it's distorted, or however that sound is changed, will then fire into another insert, another effect. Okay, so remember, it's really important to remember that the signal, the sound, is processed from one insert to the next, from one effect to the next, and it's always going to go either from top to bottom if you're using Logic Pro 10, or from left to right if you're using any other DAW. Okay, and you can actually see this here. Compressor effect or insert, channel EQ effect, and the chorus effect. But the sound is coming in always, remember, even on a digital mixing board, even in your DAW or digital mixing board itself, okay, the sound is always coming in from the top and down through the bottom. Okay, so the sound is going to first be affected by the compressor. That compressed sound is then going to be sent to the channel EQ and then to the chorus. Okay, these are the necessary skills you need to know how to add these types of inserts. Okay, what adding inserts, bypassing your inserts. So if you want to bypass one, choosing presets for your inserts, saving your presets, changing your orders, and copying and pasting. That's everything for today, folks. Thank you very much for listening today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to fire me an email at any point in time. And don't forget to answer this week's discussion question. Have a wonderful week ahead. Bye for now.